Today we are talking Daryl Dixon, Season 3, Episode 2. Welcome to Screens in Focus, the podcast where we talk about TV and movies. I'm Diana, and Renee is here. Hi, Renee. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing great, too. The Emmys were last night. I don't know if you caught any of the wins, so that was kind of exciting. All right. So we're going to talk about Daryl Dixon, but we also have TV and movies to share at the end. So stay tuned for that. We'll just give a little bit of an update on the Emmys as well. Daryl Dixon. Okay. We're going to start off with our question of the day. And in this episode, we see a new community. So I was curious to know if you stumbled onto a new community during an apocalypse, what's the first thing you would want to know about them? Okay, so think about that. Friends out there, think about that. And then we'll answer it later on. I also want to bring up that our question of the day last episode was, what food instantly reminds you of home? You and I gave our answers. We had a caller call in and share theirs, and theirs was chili, which I thought was so good because that could have been one of mine. I didn't even think about it because I make a chili that my family always requests that I make. And I thought, oh my God, that's such a good one. So I thank you, listener, for calling us. We appreciate you so much and leaving us that. And so we hope you'll answer this question of the day also. So we can't wait to hear your answer on this one. All right. So episode 2 had standoffs with bandoleros. It had young love. It had a new town, twisted customs, vibrant Spanish community, Carol speaking up, and Daryl in his gunslinger mode. So what was a highlight for you, Renee?
I thought it was another good episode. It continues, to build the world. We're keep seeing this where the Walking Dead universe continues to build onto what the original was. So I love that part of it with the new groups, now we're in Spain, so we're getting a whole new feel of all that. And the scenery, I love the change in scenery from the last 2 seasons. Not that wasn't beautiful, but it's just fun to see another something completely different than what we have been seeing. And then the Western vibes that are already starting, which I know there's much more to come, but they've been inspired by the spaghetti Westerns. And I love that Antonio spoke of that, because all the showrunners and the actors and things have mentioned it. So it was neat that he, had the poster and was talking to Carol about that. But I just think it makes this series really stand out to be something very different than what the other stuff is, and I know we did get a little bit of Western stuff in Fear the Walking Dead, but this is very different, but it was a good episode. Not quite, there's a lot of exciting moments, but maybe not quite as good as the first episode, but it was still pretty good,
I wholeheartedly agree with everything that you said. Mm-hmm. So the spaghetti Westerns for me was such a highlight in this episode, especially with Daryl and, that gunslinger mode. Oh, it was so exciting to start with that and even end with that. So that was what got me really excited. And also Carol, I feel like just the way that she was reacting to watching young love was, you can tell she's in a new space now. And so I really appreciate that. And then her speaking up, which we'll talk about, but her speaking up at that big dinner fiesta that was happening, I thought, oh, this is so good. I love it. I also love that Daryl and Carol are coming from 2 different perspectives. I think that makes it so much more interesting what we're going to see, because if they're on the same and you're fighting against someone else, that's fine too. But I like that they have to, just like anyone else would, like I mentioned previously, just as a partner would or a friend would or whoever, you spend a lot of your time with, you don't always, you love each other. You probably have a lot of things in common, but there are a lot of different approaches that you have dealing with certain issues. So I really appreciated that too. And like you said, the spaghetti Western and referring to that poster and just bringing that up and just the shots. Oh my gosh, which we will talk about too, about the cinematography. So But of course, Daryl and Carol, we show up every week because this is who we love to see. And so what struck you about them in this episode?
I feel like Carol is still kind of in a haze. I mean, I don't know if it's because of her injury or if she is just in a different mindset. Like you were saying, I don't know what it is, but she's very different, and she, even when she's looking around and stuff, she just kind of looks almost disoriented a little bit. And, I don't know. And Carol, she's one of those characters who has done this before where she's kind of play acted who she should be for whatever situation she's in. So I don't know what's quite going on here, but I really hope we get, I want to see action Carol before the season ends. I'm liking this for her because I know, what she experienced at the end of the last season, that was therapeutic for her. That was something that needed to be done. She needed to deal with that. But I just feel like she's, I don't know, just kind of in a haze. And I don't know what the, why exactly. But I did love that she confronted them. It was kind of rude, but at the same time, it was like, this is ridiculous. What are you guys doing? Why are you giving your daughters? She's like, thinking, I just dealt with all this trauma of losing my daughter and and you guys are just giving them away. So I did love that she spoke up. But I thought that was very brave of her because they could have just done, they were torturing that other guy,
I know.
They could have strung her up too. So I appreciated her bravery for doing that because it did need to be said.
It's so funny when she was stating what she thought. I'm like, you go, Carol, you tell them this and that, right? But it's funny because Daryl kept trying to move the conversation away from what she was saying. Every time she said it, he was saying, oh yeah, can you pass that? Or, oh yeah, this and that. I thought that was so funny. I'm like, Daryl, you're trying to predict. Oh, Carol, don't say it. Don't say it. I know.
Yeah.
But she had to. I mean, how do you just let that go? It's like so crazy. But then that grandma came and told her. But I'm like, really? You're okay with them taking your daughter? And oh my gosh. And then the one guy that they strung up, that was interesting in itself, how they had him strung up and they were putting the rocks on there. But he said something like, I haven't seen my daughter in 5 years. And
because his daughter was one of the ones in the lottery. So, I guess I didn't quite think his outburst warranted his punishment because that seemed weird, but I don't know, I guess I just have to make an example of him or whatever.
Right. Yeah. But basically, don't say anything or this is what's going to happen to you. It's like Hunger Games, right? You're just going to, we're taking your daughters and you just have to deal with it. But yeah, so Carol, she is in a different space. You're right with what she's doing. Oh my gosh. And that beginning episode was just all, they're so perfect. I mean, she was so you could see these, little arrows being shot from her eyes with the beauty that she saw with this young love of them on the rocks. So, yeah. And then Daryl, he's just so focused on getting back and doing anything he can to protect, save Carol. I mean, he's just in that mode. I was a bit surprised in the beginning when he was ready to take the young couple stuff and do whatever he was not worried about them. Carol's the one that was like, okay, these people are young love. Let's just, take what we need and go. But that surprised me. That did surprise me about him. And the fact that when he put the gun to the guy's head, is all, no, you're going to take us to your town. He did, because even when the guy said, Roberto said, they're going to take her and they're going to kill me, Daryl didn't care. Daryl's all, nope, one track mind. I'm getting my friend safe and that's all I care about. I'm like, whoa, Daryl. I would like to be your friend in the apocalypse.
Yeah. And I was thinking that same thing. He is just laser focused. He wants to be home. And, in an interview, Norman Reedus described it as Daryl in Motorhead mode because that, I know previously when he was filming The Walking Dead, that was his hype music to get him ready for the scenes and stuff. He would listen to Motorhead and stuff. And so I guess that's kind of what he's maybe been doing again, the way it sounds. And so I've been excited to see this Daryl where he's just, this is what I'm doing. I'm surviving. I gotta protect whoever, in this case, Carol. And I just love seeing this Daryl because it's like early Daryl, where,
Yeah.
but at the same time, he still has retained his sweetness, because he still is caring about people. He is still, once he's getting to understand the situation, then he kind of flipped a little like, okay, I can, these people, that kind of stuff. And then Carol, of course, talked him into, helping because that's where her mind is,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I have always said that Daryl acclimates to whatever group he's in. And he was doing so in that. Like, yeah, he was reluctant to get involved, but, the whole tending to the pigs and helping them get ready for the festivities they had. So he was just doing all of that and just kind of keeping his eye out to what was happening around town. And I mean, he's just so good at that, like just assessing what is happening around him and seeing Paz with Elena, I think it is. I wasn't sure of everybody's name in this. I felt like there was moments that I didn't know who was who exactly. They did say Paz as far as her name, but I didn't even know Roberto and Justina's name. Like I had to figure that out. So I don't know if they said it very often, but also Daryl and Carol, when they were there at the town, they did talk about, Daryl's all basically, I think we need to just not be involved and just do our thing and get out of here. And she's like, we can't just, these people saved us. We can't just walk away, basically. We have to help.
Yeah.
So it'll be good to watch how they navigate all of this. I'm curious what you thought of the custom, which we kind of talked about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the custom, that was definitely something that it's like they're kind of like stuck in the past, which I understand the apocalypse kind of froze things, as far as, a lot of moving forward. I guess I don't know what it's like in Spain, but I imagine in modern day they weren't doing this. But I don't know. Maybe I don't think so, but I don't know. But I thought it was just very crazy. It was kind of hard when we were watching the like trailers and things. They kept showing these clips like, what's going, what exactly is going on? You weren't quite sure. And so I just see that they're taking these girls and like you said, the community's just like okay with it. I mean, I understand it's for survival, but you would think that, I don't know, I guess they're just more brutal and they're afraid to come against it because they're the last any kind of government that's established. And that's, people tend to be a little more afraid of the government when it's labeled that. And so they probably just figure they better toe the line or they're going to all be something happen to everybody instead of just the daughters or something. But yeah, it was quite crazy.
How do you, I started thinking about The Walking Dead and all the times that it had happened before, even with Hilltop when Gregory was there and having to do what Negan wanted or else, what do you do? And that's when, Rick and crew came in and that's when everything started to happen, between all the groups. But just everybody, there's always somebody who wants power over other people and enforces that power. What themes or what did you think of the cinematography in this?
So the main theme I really enjoyed was the love. We saw young love with Roberta and Justina. We saw the forbidden love with Paz and we think Alina. I didn't look that up either. And then Daryl and his nurturing, he's got that nurturing side for Carol. And then that father, he was like desperately crying out for his daughter that was stolen from him, who he obviously loved. So there was just all these different types of love that we saw. And so it's kind of interesting to see that in an apocalypse because we don't always, there's snips of it and things like that, but this seemed very heavy to me, love heavy episode, even though there's a lot of action as well. But that was one of the main themes that I felt was very predominant in that episode.
So we've talked about it, tradition versus change, because we have the villagers clinging to rituals and we have Carol wanting to have progress and move forward. And, oh man, sorry, for a moment, I thought, holy crap, this is a lot of what we deal with in society, right? It's like some people wanting to move forward in ways and other people not wanting to. So this is just something that happens all the time, everywhere, every country, every city, every state. So it's kind of crazy to see it, played out here too. Also, I saw loyalty to one versus responsibility to many because, like we had mentioned, Daryl's so laser focused and all he cares about is Carol and him. Carol's safety and them getting home. But Carol, on the other hand, is more concerned about, yes, she wants them to get safety, but what about these other people? What about this young love that she's seeing? What about the girls that don't have a voice and she wants to help them in one way or another? So I'm going to be so interested to see how this plays out. What about cinematography? What did anything catch you with that?
When they were walking, they panned out and showed that. I just love those scenes because it's, we get to see, like, I've never been to Spain, so it's fun to see these different places and things I may never get to see otherwise, So I really appreciate all those scenes like that because it's so different than what I'm used to in Georgia,
Yeah.
It's just always fun to see where they're gonna film, because I know they've mentioned a lot of places. And so now we're seeing these in different episodes. So I really love that specific scene of panning up with that mountain.
I love that. That was gorgeous. And then coming up to the town where Paz was introduced and just walking in the streets, I thought to myself, oh man, this makes me want to go there. Like that's what the feeling, but you're in apocalypse, but still it just felt so welcoming in a way. Also, the very opening scenes when they were by the water, watching that water rush by, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be near that water. It feels so good. So it instantly kind of brought me into that world. So I really appreciated that. There's been so many different like Comic-Cons and events that Norman Reedus and the rest of the cast have been involved with. And I've seen several where they have talked about Spain, and Norman Reedus had said that it just brought a different energy and the way all the crews approach everything and the pacing and how vibrant and how passionate Spain and the people are, and how orange and yellow tones of the landscape really pop. And we can see that. We can feel that they're in a different place. So it's just beautiful to watch. I love it all. It's just gorgeous. We are heading into our rapid fire questions. Okay, Renee, I'm going to ask you some questions and you give me the answers that come to mind for you. Okay? All right. The first one. What was the most epic moment?
Daryl fighting that soldier on the ledge with the walkers down below the wall or whatever. And I loved how it was, it was dark, but yet we could still tell what was going on. But I loved how it was flashing back and forth between their fighting and then everything, the burning in the courtyard. And so I just thought that was beautiful because it was just this action, but then this other side where they're, over here celebrating and they're doing all this. And so I loved that. I thought that was so much fun.
I agree. It was so much fun. I had that as mine too. It's so funny because I'm watching The Last Kingdom, and so I'm in Viking mode. But I said, Daryl's in Viking mode. He's got that sword, and he's like going to town on these guys. And he's getting every single one of them. Like they can't touch Daryl, right? And then that last moment with the one guy. Sure. And I thought, oh my God, he's pleading with Daryl. What's Daryl going to do? What's Daryl going to do? I'm like, Daryl's not going to do it. But then I thought for a moment, yes, he could. But then the way that he did it with his fingers.
Yeah.
Slicing his fingers. I'm like, oh, Daryl did it. So yes, I agree. That was the most epic moment. Okay. What was your favorite Spanish town detail?
The balconies. I always, and I don't know why I equate that with Spain a lot. I just do, but I just love all the balconies up the whole sides of the buildings looking down into that courtyard area or whatever. I don't know. I just think there's something, I don't know, romantic about them, or I don't know, but I just love that so much. But the whole town itself was just really incredible. Like you were saying, it's just makes you want to go visit there and see all that.
Yeah. My favorite Spanish town detail was all the tables lined up at the festival that they were having, all those tables. It felt such like a community that I wanted to visit. It was dark. It was like dinner time. It's like we're all going to be here and celebrate, even though what they're celebrating isn't that fun. Yeah. But they think it is, right? They have to treat it as a celebration. But I just love those big long tables where that tons of people are going to come and sit and eat together. So I thought that was a cool detail. There was also, like, during the day, there was people playing chess, just like you would expect. And there was little tables out, cobblestone, it just felt so secure. But I kept thinking, what if somebody dies? I thought, what about when Daryl killed those guys? Are they going to get up? I don't know that he stabbed him in the head. So I was wondering, are they going to get up and do something?
Maybe he'll go back and do it quick.
I know, right? So anyway, okay. And the last one is, who is your favorite new character?
Well, I hate to pick one because The Walking Dead just wants to kill all the new characters. And I'm getting very fed up with it. But I think that, is it Paz or how? Yeah, I just think I don't know, you can tell she's very observant. She's watching everything and everybody. I think she kind of reminds me of like the female equivalent of Daryl, because she's watching everything, she's guarding everything, but and she seems like she's one of those really tough gals that's like, bring it my way, I'll take care of it, kind of thing. So yeah, I really like her a lot.
I have the same person. We're in the same wavelength. All right. I do, because she is all those things. I loved her. I love the horse that she was on.
And her outfit.
I just love her presence. She's probably a small person, but she has a strength about her that works. I did appreciate her vulnerability when she was watching Elena, who we think that's that person's name, come in. When Elena turned around and looked, who's she looking at? Is she looking at Daryl? Who's she looking at? And then I realized it was Paz that she was looking at. And then, of course, we learned the history and everything there. But yeah, I like this person. So, and I love that she's probably super good with a gun and on horseback. And I'm looking forward to seeing what she does. So I am excited for all of that. Okay, we are getting to our screen bite. This is a fun nugget. And one of our listeners blew my mind, and this is this week's screen bite. It actually comes from them. She reminded, I say us, but really me, of, in the comics, Walking Dead Alien, I believe, if I have that right. It was a one-off comic. And Rick's brother, who knew? I had no idea. But Rick's brother, Jeffrey Grimes, was said to be in Madrid. Okay? And now that Carol and Daryl are in Spain, it's like, will Daryl meet up with Rick Grimes' brother, Jeffrey? This just, okay, where have I been? I guess under a rock, because I didn't know this. So, Renee, I'm going to get your take on it, but I just want to say this first. Will they come together? Is it too much? Are the showrunners just like, you know what, we're going to put this out there? Is it too far-fetched? I don't know. What do we think? What do you think, and what do you know, Renee?
Last year, when they first, I don't remember when it was exactly what they were talking about Spain. I was like, wait a minute, is there something like, I remember something about Rick's brother, and I'm like, was it Spain? And I believe it was Barcelona. And yeah, that's where he was. And so I actually wrote an article about this, saying, will we meet his brother? I was thinking about how, well, if Daryl can't reunite with Rick, maybe he can reunite with his brother, and this and that. But Jeffrey was there, and I guess I'm not sure, I don't remember why he was there. But then when the outbreak came, he met a woman named Claudia, and she knew someone in another Spanish town somewhere in Spain. I'm not sure, I forget where that was even, but they had a plane that could get him back to America. So they were trying to get back, because he, of course, wanted to see his brother, who he heard was hospitalized. And then I think she had heard rumors that in America, they were starting to figure out something about how to cure, everything. And so they were, really wanted to do this. And there's a bit of a spoiler from the comic, but I guess I'll just say, because if you haven't read it, you're probably not going to read it, but Jeffrey actually dies in the comic. But that doesn't mean anything in Walking Dead world. We could still, you know what I mean? So it's been speculated very heavily, especially when they first announced where they were going to be, located and things. A lot of media outlets and things and, Reddit posts and things that talked about this very thing. And so, yeah, I mean, they could. Yeah, it's very difficult to say, but I think it would be a very exciting addition, and it would just kind of, tie things together better and whatever. So I guess we'll see.
We shall see. And how would you feel about it? How would you feel about it?
I think it would be cool. Yeah, I think it would be really interesting. It would just add another layer to Daryl and Rick, and it'd just be kind of fun. I mean, who knows? Maybe he could be instrumental in helping them get to America. If he survived this long, he's a survivor. He knows how to do things, and so I think it'd be kind of fun.
I think it would be so much fun. I love this idea. I just love things like that. Where they just come together, and especially Rick and Daryl. Come on.
I know.
I mean, I know it's his brother, supposed to be his brother, but it's like, oh my God. That would just be so cool. So cool.
And it's if Rick and Jeffrey both show up and they reunite with Rick, what would Rick think about that,
He's all my real brother and my
other brother, yeah.
And my other brother, yeah. It's like, this is so cool. I love it. I love it so much, yeah. Okay, so we shall see. And I want to thank our listener for calling in and sharing that with us. I really do appreciate their phone call. And we hope they're going to call us, because we are going to give our question of the day. We're going to revisit that now. And so that is, if you stumbled into a new community during the apocalypse, what's the first thing that you would want to know about them?
It's very tough to me. That's a tough question, I think, because there's so many things I want to know. I suppose, I want to know who the leader was, and I would want to have a discussion with them, because there's so many things. Like, well, do you let people come and go, I guess, are we, if we come in here, can we leave? Because that's a lot of times that's not the case, so I suppose that would be the more specific question, but definitely talk to who's in charge.
You know what came to my mind immediately? Are you going to eat me? I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding either.
That's a great question.
when Antonio, when he was cooking food, know that went through my mind. Okay. I'm like,
this is too familiar.
I didn't think it, but it went through my mind.
Yeah.
And every time you go to a new community, you got to think about, what kind of food are you eating? I did notice that the son, Roberto, was cutting potatoes or peeling potatoes. Sorry. At least that's what it looked like to me. And I thought, they grow potatoes there. So, I always think about this. Food seems to be on my mind a lot. So it's like, how are you going to survive? So anyway, that is what went through my head. That was one of the things I would want to know, because I want to know that I'm, because also Daryl and Carol walking into this new community, they don't know anything. Are these good people, bad people? Like, they said, you can stay for 2 days, but who knows, right? Who knows? They might just say that and do another thing. So I think they do have to be on guard to just, who do you get to know and what do you do? So, so friends out there, what do you think? If you stumbled into a new community during an apocalypse, what would be the first thing you would want to know about them? Please share it with us wherever you're watching or listening. If you're on YouTube, you can leave us a comment. If you want to leave us a comment on any of our social media, you can get that in our show notes. Screensinfocus.com is our website, and you get to all of our social media links there. Or you can call us at 669-223-8542, because we want to know your answer. Okay. So what are you looking forward to in the next episode?
I guess I don't know when it's gonna be the next episode or not, but like there's some point where Daryl's gonna go off on kind of a side quest, because we see him alone and that kind of. So I'm really excited to see what's up with that. I saw like some chatter about like he's going to get someone or something. So I don't know if it's one of the girls or what, but I'm very interested to see what's going to happen with that. But I don't know when it's happening.
Well, it looked to me like they were going to try and repair the boat. So I thought he and Roberto were going to go try and fix that.
But this is like him on the motorcycle alone in the middle of the desert.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait for that. I have a feeling that I don't know if that's going to be this next episode. But
I think it's going to be a little bit later, but I'm looking at it because he's by himself. I mean, I think that was their plan, so maybe we'll see that in the next episode. But some other times he is alone on the bike. And so I'm very curious to see, because there was everybody's always speculating in something that he's going to go get someone or something. But I mean, that's total speculation.
Well, I still think it could be Justina, because I don't know how often they do this, but something made me think that they might pick another person.
Did they say, like, they said it? I don't remember if they were every 6 months or I don't remember. I thought that he said that
every that far out.
They could change their mind. I mean, obviously they do what they want, so who knows? Yeah, but it would make sense that it was something with her because
she saved them, or she helped them. So that's what made me think that. Oh, okay. This is back to our trailer talk and back to our first episode. The other thing was that, remember, we were talking about Carol exposing her shoulder, and I thought, maybe that's from the accident or the boat accident, and that's why he's tending to her wound. And I don't know why I'm bringing that up, because I like how we're speculating what something could mean, and we've been pretty good at figuring these things out. That's why I'm bringing it up, because I'm like,
we were right again.
We were right again. So it's working. It's working. So let's see what happens next. So anyway, come back, everybody. This is our wrap up of episode 2. So come back for episode 3, because we're so excited about this season. All right. Any last thoughts? Are we ready to move on?
I think we're ready to move on.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to share our TV and movie recommendations. But of course, I did want to bring up the Emmys because they just occurred last night for us. And there were, I believe, if I have this number right, the studio got 13 wins. Adolescence and Severance both got 8, I believe. And the Pitt got 5.
Nice.
And I was just excited. I love all of those shows. The only show that did not get any love was The Bear. They didn't get any love. And if they did, it was very minor and it wasn't headlined, whatever it might have been. But we still love it here at Screens of Focus. Renee and I still love it. We've covered those in our podcast. So go check those out if you love it too. But so I just wanted to highlight those because I've seen all of those and I love all of those. So I think that those are great TV recommendations if you haven't seen any of them. The Studio, Adolescence, Severance, and The Pitt. So, okay. So what do you have for us?
So on your recommendation, I started watching The Summer I Turned Pretty. And it's so fun. I'm like on episode 4, I believe. I think I just finished 4. And it's just a fun coming of age story. But it's, it's not just the kids. You're learning, there's stuff about the parents and these other, people and other adults and things and just how they all, work to, live together, do things together and that. And it's, I'm really enjoying it. So thank you for that recommendation.
Awesome.
And then I've only watched 1 episode. I can't remember. My husband introduced Long Bright River. It's on Peacock. And it's Amanda, is it? I always say her name wrong. Seyfried.
Oh, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, so she's the main character. And it's a crime drama kind of thing. And I think it might just be 1 season. Like a miniseries, I think. Yeah. But I just watched 1 episode and I'm like, okay, I got to watch and see what's going on. It's just, it really drew me in, which I'm one of those people, if it's slow or too whatever, I'll just tune out, But this one, I was like trying to figure out what's going on and can't wait to watch the next episode. So I was really, enjoying that one. Then I think it was like Saturday morning, I got up drinking my coffee. I'm like, I want to watch a movie. And this Redeeming Love was on Netflix. Have you watched that one?
No.
So it is a 2022 movie. And I'm watching this thinking, this is like a romance novel. Well, it is. It's Frances Rivers, one of her novel adaptations. And so it's just a great story of redeeming love, and it has like Christian undertones. It's based on the story of Hosea in the Bible. Kind of, they use that as their kind of source material for the story. And it's not like you aren't a Christian or anything, I don't think you're going to be offended or anything like that. It's very undertoned, you know what I mean? It's not like the main of the story, but it's just such a fun story. It was just really good. So I enjoyed it very much. Then we went to the movie theater and watched The Long Walk, which I haven't read the novel, but my husband's read it several times. My daughter's read it at least once. And so they were excited because they already knew what's going to happen. I just knew what I'd read. I tried not to read a whole lot because I didn't want anything too spoiled. But wow, it is so good. It's a Stephen King adaptation. It's brutal. It was very shocking, but yet it was hopeful. It was like hopeful.
Wow.
And then you also had like humanity and kindness in there. But here I am, how many days, and I'm still like can't stop thinking about it because it was just there were just, I'm not going to spoil anything, but there were just parts of it that just depending on who you are or whatever, different roles and things really just stuck with you. But it's so well done. I can't think of his first name, but it's Hoffman.
Oh yeah, Philip.
It's his son.
Oh really? Philip or what's his name?
Yeah, Philip Seymour Hoffman. Okay.
Yes,
Philip Seymour Hoffman's son, and I cannot think of his first name. But he was in Licorice Pizza. That was, I think, the first.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So he's one of the lead guys. And then David Johnson from Alien Romulus is the other like kind of main character.
Yeah.
And they are phenomenal. I mean, I'm telling you, these guys are such good actors. And Mark Hamill's in it as well. He plays Major. And it's, again, just like as far from Luke Skywalker as he could ever get. I mean, it is but seriously, I highly recommend it. It is tough. But one thing I like, it reminds, kind of get the same thing with the Hunger Games. It's kind of on that same kind of vein, but for some reason, the Hunger Games is more palatable than this. And so anyway, I'll quit talking, but it was so good.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I thought, I want to watch this. You had mentioned it last week. I'm going to probably watch this. I'm like, okay, cool. And then I really wanted to watch it. I did listen to one podcast and one person so far, I think, loved it. One was in the middle road and one person didn't like it at all. And they're pretty, they thought there was too many tropes that were redone already. But you know what? I'm like, I'm so glad you loved it. Like, I'm going to go off of your recommendation because sometimes I love things that may not be critically loved, right? Because you go in and you watch it and is it speaking to me? Am I loving this? So I love that you have that take on it. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right. So I already recommended a few to everybody because of the Emmys, because those are some of my really big favorites. The other thing is my husband watches Jack Reacher all the time. He has different seasons going. I think my son watches it. Well, he happened to want to go back and watch the very first episode. So when he did that, I was watching it with him and I was totally gripped. I'm like, this is so good. I mean, I've seen bits and pieces, but I liked the first episode. Like it really, now it makes you want to go back and watch more of them, So I would recommend that show. I did watch a movie and it's Death of a Unicorn. It's on HBO. It's with Paul Rudd and a slew of other actors. Like the cast is phenomenal. There's so many people in it. Jenny Ortega and just so many more. And so the cast is so good. It's very well acted. The story, it's a horror, but it's a comedy. In fact, my niece and her husband were over and they're like, this is a comedy? I mean, people's ripped off pieces of people are happening. I'm like, yeah, it's a comedy horror. Okay, but know that it's truly a horror, but funny moments too. Would I watch it again? Probably not, but was it watchable? Yes. So there's that. All right. And I did want to bring up a movie I saw in the summer that I may have not recommended through the podcast, and that's The Fantastic Four, First Steps. Pedro Pascal, Joseph Quinn. I really liked it. I felt like it had that retro vibe, even though, it has to do with the Fantastic Four. Yes. So I absolutely enjoyed it. So it just felt like the same way Superman did for me. It felt like they were going back to some nostalgic type moments. And so I really appreciate the the new Superman and also Fantastic Four First Step. So if you get the chance to see it and you haven't seen it, I'd recommend it. All right. Renee, thank you for your recommendations. I can't wait to watch, what's it called? The Long Walk. I knew it had to do with walk. It is a Stephen King, right? Adaptation.
He wrote, I want to say it might be his first book. It's very early on, but he said it should never be adapted. Stephen King himself had said that. Yeah. But I think Frank Darabont actually had it for a while.
Yes,
and then just couldn't get it. Yeah. And then
first George Romero did.
Okay.
First George Romero, then Frank Darabont. And then whoever.
JT Molnar, who did Strange Darling, is who wrote the screenplay.
Ah, okay. Okay, so anyway, thank you for your insights and your recommendation. And thank you for joining me for Daryl Dixon.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right, everybody, come back next week. We want to thank you for joining us. We hope we gave you a chuckle, some inspiration, some positivity, some insight, full of Screens in Focus at screensinfocus.com. And please share this podcast with a friend. That would mean so much. And remember to keep watching, keep exploring, and keep those screens in focus. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.